What's up, people? It's your boy Jatwa. I'm here today in Kerbal Space Program, and here today we were launching this experimental shuttle of mine that has a very funky design. Look at those unusual wings. This is a beautiful design that kind of centers your thrust and allows you to have a more controlled ascent. I was running into a lot of problems with a normal shuttle design, like this one just decided it didn't want to lift off when it hit launch. So I had to revert it back and try again. On the second one, this actually worked. It actually launched. Surprise, surprise. Look at that. So I took the opportunity to get some really fancy, beautiful shots here. And this craft, I will admit, certainly did give me quite a few headaches. Did a little bit of a roll here. It tried to veer off to the side. I was able to recover it and then get it going straight. And from here, it was just a race to get out of the atmosphere before I had any more odd instabilities. And it actually seemed to be working out this time. Funny story behind this is actually my second time launching this craft. I actually did a full recording, about an hour of recording this, and I realized after the fact I did not have OBS open. And therefore, the entire recording was lost into the neither. So, that being said, hi, this is me for the second time. So we had a few setbacks, not only just in recording things, but also in trying to get this craft to be stable. Oftentimes, it would just get on the runway and just disintegrate, which was disheartening. I went ahead and reinstalled all of Kerbal Space Program 2, and it seems to be working now. So that being said, I added a bit more space tape, used my little trick that I showed earlier to get all the comm call cot all nice and balanced out so it's sitting right above one another, and it was a beautiful thing to see with a shuttle. And this thing lifted off just absolutely perfectly. I could let go of the controls and it actually was flying straight. So I did run into various instances where, with the previous design of this craft, because once again, this is my multiple time of doing this, it would just backflip or front flip or what have you. I did realize that using a lot of the anchors, it did tend to keep it off the ground. Even though I'd put it close to the ground, it would still keep it off the ground, which is kind of a pain in the butt. I wanted this one to rest on the ground so it'll have a nice stable liftoff, but that was not what I received. So I'm still trying to find a good way to launch things like this. Regardless, we were able to get this thing into an LKO, and it has a massive package in the middle. I probably shouldn't say that, but you know what? I'm leaving it in. And so here was my circularization burn. I hate that word, and I'm still going to try to say it every time. And I was able to do this at the last moment because I have so much thrust in this craft. And I do like the fact that it does drain from my lifter before it goes to my shuttle. Thank goodness it does that, because we don't have a current method of telling it which one to drain first. So you have to actually put it on there, and hopefully you get it lined up and it's in order, and that's the one it'll do first. So in this case, it was, and I was able to actually get a fantastic little orbit. And here we are opening up our cargo and deploying our core for our station. Now, there are more reasons I'll go into at the end of this video as to why I will not be building more on the station. But for now, let's take a nice, beautiful look at this thing leaving the cargo bay, and that is a double large cargo bay that you see there. And here it is, just exiting oh so gently. And this probably was like the best deploy of this, because in the one I did previous, that that separator actually got stuck in my craft, and I had to fly down with it stuck in my craft, like Philadelphia experiment style, stuck in the walls. And pew! Doesn't happen this time because it launches itself further into orbit and I never see it again. Absolutely hilarious thing to see there. But here you go. Here's the station. It's got well, I thought I had people on it. It should have people on it. I just don't see them. Deploy the solar panels, and now it's time to close the bays and go home. So here is where things start to take a really dark turn for this experimental craft because we run into things called bugs in the game. And let me tell you, you just cannot have enough raid for this many unfortunate occasions of bugs. So let's show you the delightful bug number one after we take a look at our craft here. Just wanted to make sure I had a nice orbit. But hey, my shuttle exploded. Isn't that great? Luckily I had quick saved. So hey, let's do it all again. Once again, let's go ahead and deploy this station core, and let's hear my little girl rolling her toy train around in the background. So if you do hear that, I do apologize. There's not much quiet in this house these days. So once it is deployed, once again, it's nice, gentle, and you see me checking my fuel because when I reverted, it made it look like I had no fuel, which is not cool. I'm sitting here panicking going, did it eat my fuel? No, it just didn't register it because my engines were off. I suppose. It's just another bug that we run into sometimes. So that being said, let's go ahead and watch this station core for the second time exit the cargo bay. And yes, that is the train sound that my daughter has going in the background. Oh, it's lovely. I love that. Yeah, I'll have to tell you more about that train later. They love riding it, so I can't say it's a horrible thing. It's just really, really loud. All right, and so here's a little funny thing. You can actually, now that it's detached, you see it's detached. Let's try that again. It's detached here, and then I fast forward a bit. You see it actually leaves the craft area, and then I'm still able to tell it to deploy its panels. Now this time I'm being a bit more careful, and I'm not switching over to the craft because I don't want to take a risk of it exploding. So we remotely deploy the solar panels, and then we go get back to business of getting this craft back to Kerbin. And you can see here we just turn around. We have just enough room to make it happen, and we come up on our retro burn here with a nice little sunrise, and we do our first attempt at a retro burn with this new shuttle. And would you believe it or not, I go into map view, and I wonder if this is part of the issues with this bug. You go into map view, you start your maneuver, and suddenly you realize your engines aren't turning off. You hit X, but it's not happening. So you go back from map view and you check on your craft, and you want to know what had happened to your craft. Well, this is what this is what happens to your craft when you do this in map view. Sometimes for me, your craft has disintegrated. So you can see here, it's all mostly there, but it's gone. Luckily, I'm a quick saveaholic, so I can revert, and we can get right back to business. Okay, so lessons learned. Don't use map view. Don't change vessels. Just try to do it all in one shot from one vessel, and hopefully cross your fingers that everything will just bloody work. So here we are. We are taking our retro burn. We still have our booster because our booster still has plenty of fuel. We still have quite a bit of Delta V in there. So we're going to utilize that to get a nice little return. And She's gonna start singing songs, and I'm gonna jump in and start singing along because it's my habit now to sing along. Um, so again, I apologize. This is part of having kids. They will come behind you when you're recording, and they will sing little ditties that you have taught them, and you will happen to sing along because, well, that's what you taught them, and now it's burned in your memory, and you're trying to teach them their ABCs and one, two, threes, and that's life. That's life with kids. Yes. So here we are. We're coming in, and basically all we need to do now, we just need to detach our booster, and we just need to glide in. We have a ton of fuel still in our tank, which is good because it balances our craft a little bit, but it's actually not a bad thing to burn some fuel off because the way that this is balanced, as I burn fuel off, it just gives me a better glide and when I'm coming in for a landing. So it's really, the center of lift is nearly on the center of mass, 1 to 1. So as I burn fuel, it goes, the center of lift goes back, or center of pressure goes back, and it allows me to glide a little better. So it flies more like a 747 than a jet, which I will take when I'm trying to come in a landing from orbit, at, orbital speeds down into the planet. And so from here, we have the long flight in. And look at that separation. That stage is absolutely fantastic. It did everything I needed it to do. So from here, we really just needed to come on in. We had a perfect shot on the KSC, and we just needed to come in for a nice landing. We're going really fast. There are no air brakes. I did not put a separate set of wings on there that actually have been set to reverse. So I don't have an improvised air brake, which I do use on some of my jets to slow them down. It does work. It's not as great as having an air brake, but it does work. Because basically what you do is you set up two sets of wings and you set their deploy to opposites. And then you set it to an action group. And so each one, when you press, when you toggle them to deploy, they'll deploy in either which direction, and it'll cause your airplane to air brake. It's kind of a trick we used in KSP1 when you didn't have air brakes. So it certainly does work, and it works fantastic. Of course, in KSP2, now it comes with the fact that you have a wing along with it. Or I don't trust the stabilizers or the control surfaces enough to do it, so I still use a small, thin wing to be able to do it for me, and it does work fantastically. So here we're just lining up our shot, and at the same time I was doing this, I was having a discussion with my little one, my eldest, who is only 2, and she was trying to get me to feed her baby a piece of plastic fruit. So that being said, I took the said fruit with one hand and I fed the baby and I landed with one hand. Was this stressful? Very much so, but hey, you got to keep your babies happy. So coming in for this nice graceful landing, I managed to actually get a nice clean shot. These new runways are fantastic. They are extremely long, which makes them fantastic for bleeding off a lot of speed. And I do not have rear chutes, which I probably should have had. That is a mistake on my behalf. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. What we do in these instances, as you can see here, we need to bleed speed. So we need to wag from side to side, swing our craft around, hope it doesn't detach itself or just come apart structurally. And we just wag ourselves side to side, bleed a little bit more speed, come a little further down, and then do a successful touchdown on the runway while feeding a piece of plastic food to a plastic baby. And here you go. We have almost a touchdown. And once I have the sound actually on, you'll probably hear the wheels squeal. It's a little delightful sound effect I love hearing on every landing. But of course, I have another mishap because my wheels don't work properly after I reinstalled. They worked before I reinstalled, but now they do not work properly after the reinstall. And in a few seconds, you'll see what I mean because you know the wheels, there's four of them, and they swing down on an axis, and all four of them come in contact with the ground. Well, my wheels, two of them decided to touch the ground, and the other two refuse to come down. So basically, I'm rolling on two wheels on either landing gear, including the front landing gear. All three of them refused to come flat to the ground until I was almost at a complete stop. And even then, it seemed to have a bit of a physics issue ongoing. So it didn't affect me too much. It just made the landing a bit more bouncy than I hoped it would be, and a bit more terrifying than I hoped it would be. As you can see here, just it's just a thing. It's a thing. So all that work, and I was like, you know what? Let's just recover the vessel and let's see if our core stayed in orbit because I had a strong feeling that it did not. So from here, we go over to the tracking station and we take a look. And yeah, it's gone. It's going. So there you go. Absolute complete successful mission that ended in absolute failure. There is nothing like the feeling of doing it all for nothing. So, if you like what you're seeing, hit that like button, drop me in a comment, let me know what you think. I'm going to continue feeding this baby plastic stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace!